And I'm Dr. Robert J. Newton. I have a degree in English and speech, 2 doctorates, 1 in law, 1 in natural medicine. I have about 10 healing certifications. I'm a 3rd level Asclepiad, 3rd level Kriya Kundalini Yogi. I've done a lot of Hermetic studies. And I said, Kundalini Shmandalini. I know everything about Kundalini. But I found out I didn't, and I'll tell you why. But especially of the Kriya Kundalini Yoga, it goes back about 4,700 years. I think about 2,300 years ago, Patanjali in the Yoga Sutras wrote down the Kriyas, Kriya, Asana, which is exercises, poses, and counter poses, which makes a lot of sense. That's what physical therapy does. Kriya Dhyana or Kriya Dharana, which are structured meditations, which I admit I didn't like, but I also have to further admit that it really disciplined my mind. And then what I consider the jewel of the Kriyas, which is Kriya Kundalini Pranayama, which gives us a very, very extended breathing regimen. So whatever you breathe in, you breathe out twice as long. If anyone here has done the 8-8-8 meditation, the 8-8-8-8 meditation, which is breathe in per 8, hold per 8, breathe out per 8, hold per 8, and then go through the cycle. I think I used to do it at somewhere at 16 to 20 for each cadence, but it doesn't matter. The more that you can do it, the longer that you can go, the better you're going to be. And here's what's going to happen when you start taking this. You're going to go into an alpha theta brainwave. Immediately when you do that, what's going to happen, you're going to learn faster, you're going to learn easier, your psychic abilities are going to go off the charts. You had them all along, but you're in the brainwave. See, when you were born in the theta brainwave. Until about the age of 5 or 6, when the school system, the Prussian education system, decided that's not a functional way for you to be, because you can't be controlled in that brainwave. Because you know bullshit when it's given to you. If you have psychic abilities, you know right away whether it's true or whether it's bunk. And of course, your creativity, your music abilities, and dancing. I'm dancing and singing all the time. And that is, to me, biblical. Make a joyful noise unto the Lord. That's one of the ways to do it. Also channels positive thoughts and emotions, because you're in this brainwave. You're in this alpha theta brainwave. You can even get into theta. In the last 3 nights, I've been in yoga nidra. I can't even hardly sleep. I'm between sleep and waking, but it's a very euphoric state, and you start getting information at a really increased level. And so that's the ability of being in an upper delta just before you go to sleep. It's probably somewhere between about 3.5 to 3.75 hertz. Theta is 4 to 7 hertz, and then more or less, they all blend over, just like all the dimensions. They're not static. There's cushions between them. And then in alpha, you're at about 7 to 13 hertz. Then you get up into gamma, which is a whole nother range. Dan Winter was doing some research on this. This extended breathing, the pranayama breathing, or any extended breathing is going to open your heart automatically. You can't stop it from opening. It's going to open. So if you don't want it to open, then don't do it. Don't do the extended breath. So you can have better health, longevity, even the possibility of immortality. One of my books is the Immortality Prophecy. I have in the atrium. Thank you. So, and I even show you using Kriya Yoga and some other things, how you can actually go into a state of immortality. It's not beyond the doable. In fact, I mean, in the Corpus Hermeticum, Hermes Trismegistus is like reading a Soriatic. He said, why don't you take this divine gift of yours? Why do you shun it? It is your divine right to have immortality. So I get those faraway eyes like this, like all the time. supercharges the immune system. And here's the thing that everybody wants, is they want the Kundalini Schmundalini, okay? All right? I had Kundalini before I did this. And I must tell you, it was really, it really scrambled my brain. And I spent about 2 or 3 years trying to figure out what it was. I think it was about 1982 or 1983. And there's a book written by this. And when I got this book, finally I understand what was going on, by Gopi Krishna, which is called Kundalini Awakening. If you awaken a Kundalini before you're ready for it, like what I did, but I did this under the direction of a psychologist friend of mine, Major Paul Spin. He told me to go and tell God what I thought of God, and I went to God and I used many expletives and I was swearing, and I got returned with this love, but it was so intense I could hardly handle it. Starting to cry about it. But this Kundalini can be brought into the sexual activity range, and it makes things, it takes it way beyond fun with friction, let's say that. So the 4 legs of yoga, I've told you 3 of them already. Asana, Kriya, Dhyana, or this is Kriya Kundalini Yoga, Kriya Dhyana, Kriya Pranayama, and then the 4th one is mantra. Now these mantras are in a sacred language, and Hebrew is also a sacred language, and Egyptians have a sacred language too, but no one has the key. But there's a certain word they use for that to translate it. But I think in my book, The Immortality Prophecy, I think I have a picture of Hebrew sound waves next to Sanskrit sound waves, and the reason I put them next to each other because I saw the synchronicity, I saw this commonality in it, which is really cool because I'm a commonality kind of guy. I've been trying to put things together all the time where everyone wants to take their own discipline and say, well, this is the only way over here and every other way is not going to work, but I'd rather fuse everything together. So we kind of, Dr. Sam Paul and I have kind of taken this into these 4 legs. There's actually 8 legs in yoga. But I mean, I've had 2 and I can walk pretty good, so. They were mentioning before too, a lot of this information was in the Vedas like about 5,000 or so years ago, but it goes way, 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 way deeper than that. This was the oral tradition, which is hundreds of thousands, if not billions of years old. This is just when it was written down. And the true history and religion of India, Swami Saraswati dated India back to 1.9 billion years into antiquity by back counting the yogas, which are long, the yugas, which are long Indian cycles of time. There's the Sat Yuga, which we're on the cusp of going into right now, coming out of the Kali, which is the best of the best, which is heaven on earth. And then we have the Kali Yuga, which we've come out of, which is the worst of the worst. So what I'm thinking, and I could be crazy, and many people have called me crazy. Again, I could give a flying flapjack less, because by being crazy, it allows me to look at things that other people won't look at. Hence, my dream is that we stay in the Sat Yuga forever. There's no really inherent reason why we have to keep going cyclical. Any more reason than there is that you have to keep coming back and reincarnating back. I talk about that in Immortality Prophecy. I had an epiphany and I'm going, this is like stupid. Why the hell do I have to keep coming back? This is someone's opinion. They can't prove to me I have to have 2,000 lifetimes to get enlightenment. So I'm on the scent of it right now, to break through right now. And so I think there's people that probably have a little happier than I am because they don't expect as much from themselves. I expect a lot from myself. My dad was like that. I was like that. I was like that on my son, and it seemed to work out pretty good. but he doesn't take it to the extreme I do. So these are the yoga asanas. We're going to be doing some of these tomorrow at Palmer Park. I remembered. This is something you do first thing in the morning. If you don't, the subconscious will convince you it's not necessary. So, and what it does is it activates your prana, your chi, your kaba, orgone, life force, God life force, all of those kinds of things. And like I said, right there on the screen, the subconscious will do everything in its power. I mean, I still get it. I still get this crap. So you just have to be disciplined. You have to force yourself to do it. So, because the downside of it is so good. It's been so good for me. People ask me, well, how can you write so many books? How can you write them so fast? Well, duh, I don't write them. I tie into the Akasha. And I get to the Akasha by going into the Theta, Alpha, Delta brainwaves a little bit from time to time, especially the last 3 nights in Yoga Nidra. The asanas, the poses, and the counter poses, I'm going to be teaching a truncated version of, but I haven't changed it. I've just synthesized it because I realized people don't have enough time. And my deceased wife that got me in to this said, well, why do you change things around? I said, I'm not taking anything out. I'm just adding more to the stew. I'm going to make a grand soup. So, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. And what you're going to learn from me. So the class tomorrow's free. I don't take myself too seriously, and I find that works. So, as I said, when people say, how can you write the books? I don't write the books. The information comes to me. It's not even hard. I've only had 1 or 2 times in the last 10 years when I've probably written about 12 or 13 books. I wrote one in 1991, Pathways to God. And that took more time, and I used an outline. Everything after that, I've never used an outline. And I thought, when I started, I go, well, you're really stupid for not using an outline. It worked out pretty good on Pathways to God. But the voice came back, why don't you try something different? This is going to be even better. And again, it just all flowed. I was like opening books to the page I needed. I was finding interviews where I needed them without even having to look that hard. But I'm also an assiduous user of the search engine. So the Sanskrit mantras as well as the pranayama is going to build your pranic field, your auric field. It's going to, it's worth it. It's because of the sacred language. When you speak Sanskrit, the sounds create the Sri Yantra, which are the 9 geometric forms of creation. It's a mandala that is auspicious in Hinduism. And also this can be your meditation. Any kind of meditation can be improved using a pyramid on your head. I have some headgear pyramids at my booth in the atrium. And again, what that's doing is getting you into the brainwave. At the very worst, the second you put a pyramid on or you go into a pyramid, you're going to go into alpha brainwave. I don't care if you try to resist it. You might be able to resist it. I'm saying you can't for sure, but more than likely you won't. And if you're an advanced meditator, well, you're going to go into theta. You're going to be into the happy land. I also want to point out the importance of long hair. The Kriya Kundalini Yogis, the Rastafarians, Reiki, know that it gives you more intuition, gives you more life force. And you should let it grow as long as you can. This is a magnetic field photograph of me after doing 30 minutes of pranayama. This is an extended breathing, like an 8-0-16-0, except I'm doing one complete breath every 45 to 50 seconds, and have done it even at an hour interval for a short period of time. So this shows you have the blue, the indigo, the purple. These are high spiritual colors. Then down below you have red on the side, which is the Kundalini or the life force. Down on the side you have the yellow, that's happiness, and then on the green is healing. So, through pictures, I wish there were more people here, but through pictures, this is what we see. This is magnetic field photography. There's also a similar photography called PIP, polyinterference photography. This is another encounter I had with pranayama, the dark indigo, the blue, the yellow, the gold, and a little bit of orange down there on the left side of the picture. Now, here's some brain tomography, which is brain scan EEG before and after performing Kriya Kundalini pranayama. This wasn't on my brain, but and again, the brain is only a biofeedback device. The brain waves are biofeedback, but consciousness is what comes from it. The brain doesn't do squat other than store information and work as a biofeedback machine. And so you can see as the person started, they were in beta, which is the monkey mind, which you're going crazy, being pulled in 20 different directions at the same time. Then we get into alpha. Then you get into theta, and then you can even get into delta. A few people do. I might know one or two. This is another brainwave thing from pranayama, going from alpha to delta, going down. As the waves get wider, you get into the deeper brainwave or the deeper levels of consciousness. Here's still another one, starting out on the right, in beta in the green, and then getting into theta in the red and yellow on the top line up there. Also in the second line right there, going from a low coherence in beta on the right, and then going, and as you can see, the arrows getting bigger, signifying a deeper brainwave. Here's still another one, pranayama gene expression from the chromosomes from before and after. And you can see, especially in the A part, letter A over there on the left, you can see a huge difference in it. One other thing I want to point out about the chromosomes too. This is really important. If you get pissed off, if you get angry, you get depressed, the chromosomes are going to stop the creation of the telomeres, creating new copies of cells, which you need until you enter Surupa Samadhi, which is immortality, which is what I'm going to teach you, which it takes you into that area. If you do this, in a short period of time, you can get into certain short periods of samadhi where you will stop breathing, or where you will breathe much slower and much less. This is a good thing. Don't be afraid of it. Oftentimes I just stop breathing. I'm not even aware of it, and I don't care. More proofs of the effects of pranayama, showing the graphs. You see a lot of gamma waves that are at 20 and above, and you have the delta. In blue, you have the theta in dark red, and you have alpha in that chartreuse green. So that we have the proof of this, and a lot of this stuff came from Kriya Yoga Pranayama by Krishna Broad and Govinda, my Yogi Govinda Satchidananda. The pranayama, what they're finding is stimulates the crown chakra, the saraswara, and it releases ambrosia, which can be those endorphins. Okay, that's another way of calling it. Even though they did, causing a physical vitalization through magnetic oxidation. And I talk about that magnetic oxidation in my book, The Immortality Prophecy, and that's part of what the pranayama does. Magnetic oxidation means You're increasing the content or the potential of your pranic field and of your health and of your happiness. And yeah, I forgot to finish the thing about I'm being told. I forgot to finish the thing about the telomeres. So when you get angry and depressed, you either get bad copies of the cells, which causes cancer, and a lot of the research into these telomeres, coincidentally not, is from cancer research, but they don't read it like I do. I take what they got, they don't even know diddly squat about what they found. To me, it's like, wow, yeah, everything fits together now. Everything makes sense. And so either you won't get any copies or you get bad copies. If you're not getting the copies, then you're in a state of degeneration. If you're getting bad copies, you're in the state of disease or lack of ease. And again, isn't it interesting that there's a direct correlation between the emotions and the physical health of a body? Every single malady, anything, any virus you get, anything comes from your mind first. And so they talk about magnetic oxidation catalyzed by the Keshari mudra. So that's a place where you put your tongue that creates a circuit inside your brain between the third eye and the pineal gland and the cerebral spinal fluid, which is this special fluid that the better it moves through your body, the higher your consciousness. So what we can get through this magnetic oxidation, slowing the breath and increasing the pranic field as temporary samadhi, which is nirva kalpa, or temporary samadhi, a state of breathlessness or slowing of breath, slowing down or stopping the circulation of blood, etc. Yeah, so what they summarized in this yoga, the Kriya Yoga Pranayama, they synthesized that the pranayama breath creates a way to mitigate one's karma, okay? And that's what I put in the book, The Immortality Prophecy, before I came across this. And this is according to Sadhguru Liri Mahasaya, who is in the upper echelons of the Kriya Kundalini Yoga that I belong, and Kriya Sadhguru. Now, I do this in conjunction with a mantra, which I might do just before we stop. This is one of the things that my deceased wife gave me. She says, why do you do that? Because I wasn't taught that way. I said, well, because I'm being taught from the Akasha. I'm being taught from Valmiki. I'm being taught from Agastya. These are all Sadhgurus that are already in the state of immortality. See, Jesus wasn't the only one that did it, but my book, In the Shadow of a Master, actually explains how Jesus did it. I must say, and I found, with my associate, Dr. Sam Paul, I was validating all this stuff because he has a doctorate in Vedic sciences. I said, is there this thing called the Isha Masai or the Isha Putra? And he said, oh, yeah, doc, actually there is. He says, Jesus was revered in India. He spent a lot of time there, probably 8 or 10 years, but he was at other places too. And there was even this book, the Bhashabhaya Purana, that actually prophesied Jesus being in India 1,300 years before the time he actually came. Pretty cool. Doing that Keshari Mudra will it's really important. And then another thing you do, and this thing, turning the eyes upward, will immediately get your consciousness in the Alpha Theta range. Things that also build the prana are sun gazing, especially at sunrise or sunset only, not in the middle of the day. Sunbathing without sunscreen, because the sunscreen prevents the vitamin D, which is a benefit. Just set them up and then walk toward me. All right there it's going out. So 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so this is the Gayatri mantra. Om Bhurбhuva Suvah Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasaya Dhimahi Dio Yona Prachodiyat Om Bhurbuba Suvaha Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargavasaya Dhimahi Dio Yona Prachodiyat.
Wait a minute, let me get back.
All right, that's enough. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 15 feet from, what we say, 4 feet.
4.
This is what happens. This is that Sri Yantra that I talked about. This isn't the drawing they do up. This is an actual thing that happens from the sound Om. As you notice, I said Om. This creates these 9 geometric forms of creation. This is what you're created from, as well as the different waves, the sine waves and the other waves, the trine waves. I was so happy when I found this. And again, this shows what Om does again. These are water crystals from cymatics.org. And I must add that the Sanskrit and Hebrew is exceedingly similar to this. Okay, so this is me after wearing a pyramid. The pyramids I sell for about 5 to 10 minutes. The word pyros means fire in Greek. And as you know, there's a lot of red around my aura right there, which indicates more than prana, and indicates Kundalini. This is a pyramid, the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun. On the left is a surrounding hillside, and you can see the prana or the life force or the chi or the ba, whatever the hell it is coming down parallel. On to the right, you can see that it's coming down almost exactly straight down into the apex and the sides of the pyramid. And I need to thank Elizabeth Eagle for making it financially possible, Reiki and Linda Reckhoff, also Michael Wachowski and Corey Good and his wife. I'm very, very grateful. Thank you.